Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is quite a big day as a new update for Age of Empires 4 has come out, and it is quite a huge one. So just in general for terminology, on Age of Empires 4 there's patches and updates, and patches is the word used for the smaller, patches, and when there's an update that means update, big, many features, many changes. Yeah, that is why the recent patch we had, not so big. We have an update now, very big. But enough about that, let's get into the content of that, because there's over 100 changes which it brings to the game, and that is quite a number. So first of all, the new features. We do get the ability to show in-game scores now, which is something the community asked for quite a bit. So while playing we can see ours and the opponent's scores, as well as the ability to watch the map in the post-match screen. So at the moment, if the game is over, you can look at the map. If you go to the score tab, so the different graphs and such, you cannot go back to watch the map. That is something they are working on for the spring 2022 update though. But if you end the game now, you can just stay on the map and look how everything is looking. Also, the minimap now should be a lot more readable, again according to a lot of the community feedback. The icon sizes have been reduced, some have been swapped around, color shifts have occurred, and so on and so on. I won't go in super detail here because I would be reading hours if I would do that, but as always, the link is down below and you can, if you want to know absolutely everything, find that out there. But now to the probably most exciting part of this, the changes to balance, and there have been quite a few. So first of all, I will talk about the changes regarding all civs, and then later on I'll go into civ specifics. So first of all, on the core units, all ranks of spearmen now deal 3.5 times the damage instead of 3 times against career type units. Instead of 6, crossbowmen now deal 9 bonus damage against heavy units. Elite crossbowmen deal 11 instead of 8 damage to heavy class units as well. All horsemen, so the basic light cavalry unit, has 1 ranged armor instead of 0, but next change, their HP has been reduced from 125 to 100 for the early one, 155 to 125 for the standard horseman. The veteran one has 155 instead of 190, and the elite horseman 180 instead of 225. So a little bit better against range, a little bit worse against melee units, which is probably also what the niche of all the horsemen or horsemen in general should be. So I think that is quite a good one. Hand cannoneers now deal 35 instead of 42 damage. They felt a little bit overtuned, they were expensive, but still a little bit too good for their one population. And now the battering ram changes I am quite fond of actually. The movement speed is 3 instead of 3.5. They used to be way too fast, like they could just zoom across the map. Good to see that addressed a little bit. Their HP is 700 instead of 900, and also their population cost has been decreased to 1 instead of 3 previously. So they're not as overpowered as before, but they better fit into the role as a thing you need to knock down buildings, I would say. They got a ranged armor increased from 15 to 30, which means, yeah, again, archers are performing less well against them, or just general ranged units. Mangonels have been changed as well. They shoot 2 seconds faster, so their reload time has been reduced from 8.75 to 6.75, but they have been also made more predictable. So they used to have a 180-degree area of effect shape, so it would basically be a half circle if I understood that correctly. Now it is 360 degrees, so boom, that just hits somewhere, and then in a circle around that, in a certain circle around that impact, they deal by damage, which is, I think, how you would expect that to work. The Republicans have been changed as well. They have now 10 instead of 0 fire armor, which is melee armor for siege basically, and their ranged armor, so instead of 2 they got 0 ranged armor. So better against melee, worse against ranged units now. On the naval side, we got a cost increase of fishing boats from 60 to 75, and the arrow ships now deal double damage against incendiary class, so demolition ships, which is quite nice to see because it felt like demos were a little bit too oppressive on water, especially since they do massive damage against land units as well. On buildings and upgrades, the arrow slit emplacement upgrade now also increases the range of garrison units by 2. Elite army tactics, which is the technology which gives your infantry extra HP and attack, now actually has been doubled in effectiveness. Instead of 10% to HP and damage, they now get 20%, which is quite a substantial increase. And in general, all elite rank unit upgrades take 60 instead of 90 seconds to be researched, getting into the late game a little bit faster that way, also making it easier to switch around to react to your opponent's unit choices. So much about that, so let's get into the civilization specific changes now. Starting with the Abbasid dynasty. They didn't really get a lot of changes, but they just got some things moved around. So the phalanx tech, which was benefited the spearmen, has been moved to the barracks, where you train spearmen. The composite bow, used to be in the House of Wisdom as well. Now it's in the archery range because it's an archer upgrade, and the camel handling tech has been moved from the House of Wisdom, and now where did it get moved? Yeah, well, not to the stable, but to the blacksmith. I suppose it is because it affects both the camel archer and the camel rider, so doing it from different buildings, and the blacksmith is kind of the point where they meet technology tree wise. But yeah, that's just the way it is, so not too many feelings about that at this point. Okay, the Chinese have a few more changes to them. The officials now have the cooldown of their text collection ability reduced from 30 to 15 seconds. The Shogunate now costs 20 instead of 60 food, but to make up for that substantial cost decrease, it has 70 instead of 90 HP in the base version, 80 instead of 110 in the veteran version, and 95 instead of 130 HP in the elite version. But again, to make up for that, the train time now is 15 instead of 22 seconds, so it is way more spammable now. I think that's nice. It fires many arrows, so it makes sense that you get many of those, so you get even more arrows. It's on flavor, I would say. I like that. The Nest of B now is moving faster. Instead of 2.5, it is 3.75, so it is even faster than the RAMs used to be. I think they really need that because they were not really that great. It seems that they should be more of a mobile siege unit at this point, because they also have the minimum range increased from 2.5 to 3, so you not only can move them off, but you also need to move them more often now. In line with that, the health of it has been decreased from 240 to 200, so again, you need to be a little bit more mobile with them and be careful not to get too close to the enemy. And also, they train 5 seconds faster, and also its damage has been increased from 8 to 10, so they fire a whole bunch of projectiles, so the actual damage they deal per salvo is a lot higher than 10. That should be given, but yeah, they're a little bit more of a hit and run siege engine. I would imagine that makes them a lot more skill intensive, and the potential damage they can do in the hands of an able player are now a lot higher than one for a less able player. I think that is a fun thing to have something like this here. Yeah, also the pyrotechnics technology, which was increasing damage by gunpowder units, can be researched in the university instead of the siege workshop. But those were all changes for the Chinese. Now moving to the Delhi Sultanate. The sanctity technology now needs fuel age to be researched, and also the scholar system has been adjusted. Now earlier in the game they will be less effective, but later in the game they will be way more, like 3 times as effective as early on. This way, like when you get more scholars with the longer the game goes, the more effective they will be, which will escalate further into the late game and not be as strong in the early game though. The English only got a single thing changed. Their longbow can no longer activate the set up camp mechanic once, or ability, once they are in combat. So no in combat healing there. The French Hulk got nerfed. Instead of 6 armor, it now has 2 armor. The French Hulk was quite a problem on C maps. I'm not entirely sure if this, I mean, this is 4 armor loss is quite a bit, but is it enough to make them not as oppressive anymore? Well, I guess we'll see in the following days and weeks. And also the cavalry and economy, everything has been untouched for the French, so they probably still are a very, very viable and very strong choice. And I would not expect to see any less French than we used to do previously. The Holy Roman Empire have gotten a nerf. Their emergency repair feature now has 6 instead of 45 seconds of a cooldown. I have not seen this to be any problematic or potentially problematic, but okay, if the data says you so, then tells you so, then that's what you do. The Mongols have the ability to pack and unpack their landmarks at maximum population. I think that is more a bug fix than a balance change. But the bounty system for them has been nerfed a bit as well. You get raid bounty, instead of 100 food and gold, you get 50 food and gold, and improved raid bounty now gives you 75 food and gold instead of 125. Also, again, maybe more a bug fix than a balance change necessarily, but the attack speed no longer affects siege weapons for the Mongols. I have actually not seen anybody use that for siege engines, because probably you don't expect that to work necessarily, at least I would not. But it sounds quite broken now that I read about it. Anyways, next up, the Rus. The Boyar's Fortitude technology is now not being able to research in the stable anymore, but in the blacksmith. The lawyer ships, they have been changed around a little bit, so those were the ships which you can change the role. So you have a fishing ship, and then you click a button on that fishing ship, and it will take some time, and then it is a trade ship or arrow ship, but yeah, you can switch roles with them. But now, while they're changing their role, the movement speed will be halved as long as the conversion process is taking time. And also, if you have a fishing ship, every single of the changes to another role costs 25 additional wood. It was just a little bit too easy to just go heavily into fishing, and then boom, all your fishing ships are military all of a sudden, and you just wipe out your opponent's stuff. Okay, but those were all of the balance changes. Now there's a ton of map specific changes, so yeah, crossing spawn more reliably, all those changes, you can read about them in the description, but this video is now going on for quite some time already, so yeah, if it interests you, you can go for it, but otherwise that should be it. Now coming to the bug fixes section. Again, I will not read out everything, but the interesting stuff I will try to do. There was a bug which just recently came up, very recently actually, where you could build T sections of stone balls and then delete the middle piece of it, and then you would just get 30,000 or 4,000 wood stone, but that doesn't work anymore, luckily. Yeah, the Rus cannot get infant relics anymore. If you got Mongol landmarks destroyed in transit, you can unpack them and repair them. And I think those were the... oh yeah, another one. Tower War Elephant now is called Tower Elephant. Very important change. But I think the most important bugs, the most game-breaking bugs have been fixed and addressed, and that is very good. Again, so many bug fixes, but everything of that now can be read in the patch notes for yourself. I think I would like to end this video here. Thank you very much for being here, watching this video, and I wish you a great day, and bye bye.